Coming to you from sunny California and the Great White North. Get ready. We are breaking down the obstacles on the Armchair Ninja Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Armchair Ninja Podcast. It is Saturday, June 10th, 2017. My name is Rich, and joining me to cover Team Ninja Warrior is Bijan. How you making out?
I'm good, man. I really don't know how I feel about this episode. It's this episode, it's like everything that could go wrong in terms of like all the formatting complaints that everybody brings up did go wrong in this episode, dude. I mean, boy, we had a team that was undefeated until the very final two runs, and then a team that was defeated in every run till the final two runs, and like they swapped, like the team that didn't win anything made it to the relay, and the team that won everything, like none of those runs mattered because the two runs they ran at the end knocked them out. And I really don't know how I feel about that. I mean, this was an episode that really accentuated the fact that like a team can get by with just having their captain hold them up on the back, you know?
Not just one team, two teams, to be fair, like both teams. And that's what kind of made this episode stand out. I don't mind as much. It kind of bothered me for a minute, but then I realized this is everybody's second chance. Like, there is nobody in here that is... I don't like people getting bumped out right off the bat in that way. It kind of sucks. But these are all second chances, so whatever it takes to scrape by, if you can't do it on your second go-around, then you know what? I think the people, whoever makes it through, has earned it.
I feel you. I mean, that's a good observation to have about it. I just really wish there was... I mean, we've all heard it. I don't want to just, recycle the same points, but I really just wish, like, the 5 runs that we see prior to the end actually matter, because this was an episode where I'm like, why did I even watch any of that?
What's funny is when we reviewed USA versus the World, I didn't find it was as obvious, but it does basically the same thing there. It didn't really matter what happened in stage 1 and 2. All it took was for Latin America to win the first round, and they would have been tied with them right off the bat.
Yeah, dude, but at least those points carry over. Like, still there's some substance to, like, them winning ahead of time. I mean, yeah, you can make the point that the teams that excel more take on the easier quote unquote team in the second relay, but that really isn't a factor when all 4 teams are pretty equal in skill level. So I just wish there was some point value or something that would carry over to make it more meaningful in the first runs.
Let's not rehash it, but this episode is really the poster child for the problems with the scoring system.
Exactly, man. Like, I'm not going to go through all the points, but once again, as you said, like, if there's ever an episode to just point at where it's like, this is the problem. This, like, and I shouldn't say problem, but just like, this is accentuating all the points that people make about it. This is the episode. With that said, we had some fun runs, dude, so I don't want to be Debbie Downer. I mean, boy, was last week much, much, much harder to watch, so... This episode, it just felt like, I guess the best way to describe it is a little anticlimactic, right, Rich? But it wasn't painful to watch, like seeing the Ninja Britons get, like, almost, like, awkwardly, like, carted off, like, and straight to the hospital. I mean, that's more, like, scary to watch, so at least we didn't have anything like that.
Yeah, I enjoyed the episode a lot, actually, and I didn't even find it anticlimactic, strangely enough.
Ooh, I did.
I was excited to see. I was a little... It was a weird kind of... I was trying to figure out who was going to fall, to be honest. I had a pretty good idea, but I wanted to see how it was going to work out in the end.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get into it, man.
Yeah, let's actually go through it. So we're not going to rehash everything, like you said. The teams, we've already covered them before. We'll kind of talk about the competitors as we go. But the 4 teams were the Superhero Squad, Le Breakfast Club, the Wings, and the Ballers. And I should apologize because we didn't realize there was going to be 2 weeks of wildcards.
I did.
So, did you?
Yeah. They said there would be 2 weeks. I mean, yeah. But what I didn't know is that the 2 winners, I thought the 2, like, both episodes, the winners would move on to the finals. I didn't realize that the winner of next week's episode is going to, like, battle it out with the winner of this episode for the final spot. I mean, I was surprised on that.
It's a little foolish, isn't it? Like, they gotta really battle their way back in.
I really feel bad for next week's winner.
Yeah,
because this week's winner has such a huge resting period.
Really? I really don't think it was much of a difference, unless that was sarcasm.
No, I know they're probably going back and next week's episode they're running straight on I'm sure next week's episode it aired they filmed it right after this, but there's still a good few hour break of that this team gets to rest.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, a few hours.
Whereas next week's episode they've got 5 runs, especially if it's a redraw of this one where team captain carries them on their back, and it's that poor guy or growl is gonna be running 6 runs in a row. They're gonna be completely blown up compared to the team that won. I don't know why I'm trying to be vague, people don't know who won, but I don't know. I feel like Superhero Squad is gonna have a huge break in terms of that.
All right, so right off the bat, we get to see Superhero Squad versus LeBreakfast Club. First matchup was Sean Darling Hammond versus Noel Reyes. Not a huge stretch to see that Noel, I mean, he's been fantastic through this MVP, whole series.
Yeah, just killing it.
Holy mackerel. He pulled away, and Sean ended up falling on the floating tiles trying to bunny hop up the middle, the way people have been doing. Mm-hmm. Not much to say about it, just Noel just dominates on the scores. But right after that, we get to see a matchup between 2 of the 4 horsewomen. What did we call them?
It's not the 4 horsemen women, because that's what I always thought it was. It's the Fantastic Four.
That's right, the Fantastic Four. Rachel Goldstein versus Jessie Labreck, which was really exciting to see. I couldn't wait to see how they paired off. I thought it would be a close matchup.
Did you?
I did. I kind of did, yeah.
I'm really high up on Labreck, I guess, because I was I love Goldstein, but that's, yeah.
It didn't end up that way. So Jessie got ahead off of the Ring of Fire, but she almost fell on the tiles. She managed to save herself, and then Rachel did end up falling on the tiles.
She broke the tiles. That's what's interesting. I don't know if many people caught it, because when she fell, I saw something fly off the screen, and I thought it was her shoe, but it's actually one of the tile that she hit flew off, and I don't know if she I don't know what to do in this situation, but if an obstacle breaks that you're on and you fall because the obstacle malfunctions, I kind of feel like you need to have another chance on the obstacle.
And I think she would have, but I don't feel like the obstacle breaking caused her to fall. I think it just broke as she fell.
I agree, man. I mean, it did look like she was falling when the thing sprung, but there still needs to be something said for the fact that the obstacle malfunctioned. I don't think it would have mattered, but in all fairness, it's just that was very interesting, and the fact that they didn't go back on it made me be like, It's kind of like, Sean McCall, grabbing the upper lip of that damn Proddy prop. I'm never going to forget that and forgive. I'm still on you guys.
Well, here's the thing, though. If they reran it, that's kind of unfair to Jessie.
I don't think you have to rerun it. It's kind of like, she just restarts. Well, yeah, I mean, if they bring them back to, their placement before she did that, I mean, that's kind of just, screwing up everything also. I mean, the number one thing I could say is just don't mess up these obstacle guys.
That's the thing that got me, and I was watching on the replay to see if Jessie's fall dislodged it, and that caused, because that would have been something to see. That would have been a real controversial moment.
I mean, something happened, dude. I don't know.
But Rachel did end up falling, so Jessie got the point. That meant that it was 2-0 for LeBreakfast Club, and it looked like they were going to dominate the way they had before.
Mm-hmm. Keep count, guys, at home. Just keep a count on how these records are going, because, boy, it's a head-scratcher when we get to the end.
A little bit. So then it was Jamie Rahn versus Jon Alexis Jr., and that was one of my favorite races we've had. That was amazing. Jamie managed to pull off the win. It was neck and neck, but he managed to nudge him out. Just a great race overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I really feel bad for Jon Alexis Jr., man, because he's just going up against all these heavyweights in terms of speed, and he's really good. I'm sure everybody knows how high up we are on Jon Alexis Jr. I just really hope mentally he goes into next season knowing that he actually does very well. It's just bad circumstances, but yeah, luckily they have a beast on their team in Noel Reyes. And boy, was he like the huge surprise. Because when you looked at the team, Jon Alexis Jr. and Jesse Labreck were the bigger names, like the names that stand out. But it's actually Noel Reyes that really like was the MVP of their team.
Yeah, in some ways he definitely was. He was a really great backup. So when they had to do the tiebreaker round, which they did now, like who better to put out there? So Jamie had to go up against Noel. Noel ended up missing the sonic swing, and it was like, oh geez, so he is fallible. But Jamie fell on the Ring of Fire, hitting that second notch, as we've seen over and over again.
Yeah, it's tough, but I'm glad it's there.
Yeah, so that meant that Le Breakfast Club did get the victory. And so then we moved on to Wings versus Ballers. That's Thomas Stillings' team versus Lorin Ball's team. And Lorin continued his strategy of going first and leaving Paul Kasemir to run the anchor run. Do you disagree with it, or do you think it's still the good way to go?
No, I'm pretty good on it because Paul Kasemir is equal with Lorin Ball in terms of like skill and everything. Like it's different styles, obviously, but it's worked out to this point. So if you've seen that it's worked out, like you continue doing that strategy. It's a good way of doing it because if Paul Kasemir does like fall up or anything, you still have Lorin Ball to do the tiebreaker run. So. It's a good way of doing it. I liked that dynamic. And the good thing is that they have that one ace in the hole with Meiling Huang, who's been unstoppable at this point. So they can always rely on her for getting a point in the fact that they can make it at least to a tiebreaker round. And they don't have to worry too much. I mean, she's been so good. And Meiling Huang and Noel Reyes, in my opinion, were the two MVPs of tonight. And I can't speak for them enough. They were so good.
Yeah, she's amazing. She is. I can't wait to see her on this season of A&W. I hope they called her. I hope she applied because
she's got to, dude.
She's amazing. Unbelievable that she is so new to the sport.
Yeah, she's I can't say enough. She's just been like elevating herself episode after episode. Same with Noel Reyes, like their runs stand out amongst their peers and it really elevates their status, and I'm really glad for both of them. Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to see them, and in both, like with both of them, I'm pretty sure we're going to get some of the highlights from Team Ninja Warrior, and it's going to like just remind everybody watching at home, it's like, oh, these guys are legit.
Yeah, unfortunately Noel had a little bit of problems outside of A&W that'll mean that he's not going to be on this season. For those that aren't aware,
I'm unaware.
He had a drinking and driving charge after he had crashed. Yeah,
he's the one.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. I won't go into it, but I have strong feelings when it comes to drinking and driving, so we'll move on.
Yeah, I think we all do. Anyway, yeah. Let's just move on. Let's actually get back to the runs that we were talking
Family
about.
Family show!
So we actually had Lorin versus David to kick this off. David Yarder, that is, versus Lorin Ball. David was doing really well. He was ahead, but ended up whiffing on the swinging spikes, unfortunately, and falling in. Just completely missed both, basically.
Yeah, and you could see the emotion on him. He was not happy about that.
Yeah, understandably.
It's a frustrating situation, I mean, as an athlete, I'm sure like you're training, you're prepared for all these obstacles, and you keep coming up with like these small gaps in judgment, and it's kind of like a very frustrating thing. It's like, what is going on? Why is this happening? I feel for the guy and everybody where like these small lapses of judgments have been happening. It's a frustrating thing.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things that he could do 1,000 times, but when he's doing it under that pressure of a crowd cheering and someone's racing behind you and you've got to do it perfectly, you don't have time to hesitate and focus, you've got to just go. Yeah, it can happen to anyone. So I can get the frustration for sure.
Yeah, and he's actually mastered the fact of, like, it's very rare that you see somebody, like, get angry and, like, splash the water and they don't come off bad, because typically it kind of comes off like a temper tantrum, right, Rich?
Yeah, it can sometimes.
But in this case, it wasn't really that case, I guess, because like he just slammed his face in the water, and it wasn't a situation where he tried to make a scene about it. It's just more frustration. But I'm sure we've all seen it where like people just have epic temper tantrums, like, it's the end of the world, and I'm just like, calm down. It ain't that serious. It's not a good look. I'm glad, if you are frustrated, watch the way he does it. It's probably the best way to do it, all circumstances and everything.
So the next run we had was Meiling versus Melanie Hunt. And Melanie has apparently been on 5 seasons of ANW, the most of any of the female competitors.
That's interesting. I mean,
yeah.
I think that just says more about me and you. I guess if you didn't notice that, but I was completely unaware of that. I mean, I've seen her before, but it's not, I don't know. That's an interesting fact that I was completely unaware of.
Well, she's memorable now. I don't think I'll forget. I'll note when she takes the course from now on. I'm not sure that's how she wants to be remembered.
Not in a good way.
She's had a very troublesome season on Team Ninja Warrior. I wish her all the best on ANW. If they keep inviting her back, I know she's got the skills. It's just Team Ninja Warrior doesn't seem to be to hitting them very well.
Yeah, I mean, there's some competitors that do a lot better when they're going at their own pace, and some competitors that do really well when they're, racing against somebody. And she's just very much not the type of competitor that's going to do well under the pressure of racing against somebody. But yeah, she's been on A&W that many times, and we've seen her go to the finals in her highlights. I mean, obviously, she's got talents, and I just think she's probably better at a more slower pace, going at her own pace,
Yeah. Meiling just crushed the course. Melanie got hung up on the Ring of Fire.
It wasn't even close. I mean, Meiling just destroyed her. It was...
But here's the thing. So there is one thing of note for sure here. Meiling does seem to struggle a bit on the upper body, right? On the swinging spikes.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. It gives me a little hesitation to say that she's going to do amazing on ANW, because if it's heavy upper body, which it loves to be at times, she could have some trouble getting through.
Well, here's the thing. What I noticed is it wasn't necessarily, like, when you look at her upper body prowess, she's never fallen into the water from an upper body obstacle, unlike a lot of her peers have. It's more that she struggles when it comes to an obstacle where there's a lot of arm distance. I'm guessing she doesn't have a long reach with her arms, and that's where she tends to struggle, where she can't really get upper gripping, say on the... whatever that obstacle was that we saw. What's the name of the obstacle?
Swinging spikes, or...
Swinging spikes, yeah. So with the swinging spikes, she wasn't able to get a high grip on it just because her arm distance, like, she was almost completely, like, side to side with her arms. I mean, she was fully extended. So I think it has more to do with her reach rather than her upper body. I think it's more to do with that. But we'll see the answer real soon, because I have to imagine she's on ANW. So we're probably going to find out pretty soon, man.
Yeah, there was a few interesting things about it. So her long dismount was really impressive from a number of factors. So she mentions in her interview afterward very confidently that, she knew she would get the dismount.
Yeah.
Because she laches further than that. So that's interesting that she's, for a snowboarder, she seems very, very confident for someone that's supposedly only been training ninja for not too long. But even she noted the fact that one of the spikes was more or less stationary. It didn't rotate around as much as the other one. And she's able to adjust for that. And she didn't get turned in circles and stuff like we've seen even in USA versus World, where some of the Latin American competitors got spun around on rings and things. She has really good body control for someone that's supposedly not been doing this for very long.
Yeah, it's a very good point. And, we've hit it many times, Rich, but the best ninja warriors are the ones that can adapt to new situations. And that's a perfect example where she adapted on the fly in a very high-stress situation, right? I mean, can't get more high-stress than that. But she was able to just readjust and adapt to that obstacle very quickly. So, that's a good point, man.
Yeah, I think we'll be seeing her for a while now. But that led to the 2-point run. We get to see Paul Kasemir versus Thomas Stillings. And Paul got ahead of Thomas right from the Ring of Fire, and Thomas just couldn't quite catch up to him. He got blocked out on the spikes, and Paul just kind of nudged him out. And
I loved it.
Mr. Consistency just pulled it off.
I love obstacles like that where there's like this where there's this gap in between, and you could just completely like cut somebody off. I love that so much, man.
Yeah, it's good.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was good. It was a great run, but unfortunately that did mean that Thomas didn't make it through. So the Wings would have to then face their opponents right afterwards, who were Le Breakfast Club, which did not bode well for our guest that's coming next week, which I did announce on Instagram, but we haven't mentioned it yet on this episode. We are going to be joined by Thomas Stillings, the Genie Ninja, next week.
Woo woo! I'm excited, man. Getting some Genie Ninja tips next week, and he'll be helping us cover the premiere episode of American Ninja Warrior that's also starting next week. Get hyped, guys. Just like me, I'm super excited for that. I'm ready. And keep an eye out for a black dude in a, I don't know, maroon jacket. Might be somebody familiar.
That's cool. I will definitely be looking for you. So yeah, that meant that we then get to see a fast-forwarded run, and I'm telling you, if I had to predict one run that would be fast-forwarded in this whole episode, it would be Jesse Labreck versus Melanie Hunt. Not to be too mean, but I mean, yeah, let's just fast-forward that one. We don't need to watch that.
Yeah, we know.
I think we know how that one went.
Mm-hmm.
So Jesse did get the point for the team there. So they came back. It was Noel versus David Yarder. And wow, that was impressive. So fast. Noel pulled ahead by the tiles and just brought it home. So that would have been he was 5-0 on Team Ninja Warrior.
5-0. He's so dominant. So dominant. And yeah, he's been really like the MVP for that team. He's been making up everything that, Jon Alexis hasn't been able to hold his end on. And yeah, I'm really happy that at least Noel Reyes was able to display his talents during this competition.
Jon Alexis was so good in almost every run, but there's been a couple of clutch times that they needed him that he wasn't quite able to do it, which sucks for him. It's not that he did bad. It's just some bad timings, I think.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, it's the same case as like Nicholas Courage and various other ones where he's put up against the top competition where he was always continually going up against the team captains. So there's a lot to be said on that as well.
Yeah, because in this case, he was actually put up against Thomas Stillings, one of the fastest ninjas out there. And oh my God, what was that? That was absolutely amazing. I loved this run. Thomas, I cannot wait to talk to you about this next week.
Talking about that epic leap of faith, like dude just flew like halfway across the damn obstacle.
He skipped to the fourth spike. I get like skipping a piece of the obstacle. We see people jump to the second bar, the second rung, whatever. He jumped to the fourth spike. That was amazing.
It has a lot to say with not only his confidence, right, that he can do that, but also the risks that are involved with taking it. You have to go for risks when you're behind like that. He made it up for his team. He was actually able to have some showmanship because it did look cool. And I'm glad in the interview afterwards, he was saying, I've been wanting to do something that's kind of flary that makes me stand out in this competition. And this was a perfect opportunity for it. It also has a lot to say with, once again, adaptability, arm strength, just everything involved with this. It really made a big difference and a lot of factors involved with it. I mean, good on him. He really saved his team in that one instance.
Yeah, amazing job. He ended up winning. He was behind at that point. For those that didn't see it or forget, Jon Alexis Jr. was ahead of him on the spikes, but Thomas just skipped the first half of them, put himself in between, nudged him out, and went up the wall and won. It was amazing. And then he had to face Noel Reyes. Like, oh, geez. Like this,
Poor guy.
I got to say, man, it didn't bode well at all.
Yeah, to say the least. I mean, that's a really tough order. A really, really tough order.
Yeah, he just ran. He just did like a highly competitive run where he had to like really stretch himself to get the win and then had to run again against somebody that was undefeated. So it just didn't look good for Thomas at that point, but the gods were smiling down, and Noel unfortunately fell on the Ring of Fire. Fortunate for Thomas, but not so great for the Breakfast Club, which meant the Wings move on to the finals based on those two runs. Yeah,
and it's tough to see. The Breakfast Club was so dominant. We've gone over a million times. I'm not going to rehash, but it just sucks to see that's the way they go out. And Noel Reyes, a part of me really wishes he was able to complete that just to see him go through the entire course neck and neck with Thomas Stillings. I really would have liked to see them two go at it. That would have been really cool to see.
Do you know what I just realized I am incredibly grateful for is that Noel ran that run, because if Jon had done it again, like in the first time that the Breakfast Club had gone out, Jon ran both runs and fell both times to have them knocked out. If he had done it the 2 times now, like, there's no coming back from that.
There's no coming back, and at that point, I'd just be questioning everything of, like, who's making the decisions on that team? Like, why would you do that?
But that sucks. That really sucks that he did really well. He didn't mess up at all. Noel just had the one time to screw up. So, really, the Breakfast Club went what? Because I think they won every matchup the first go-around, except for those 2 to get knocked out, and then it happened to them again.
Yeah, except the knockout rounds. I mean, that I don't even know what to say at this point. Whatever.
So they went 5. Just think, what is that? 3 plus 2. So they went 5-2 both times.
Pretty much.
So overall 10-4.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're going to get a better record than that in the prelims.
I don't think so. We're going to have Jesse Labreck on this show.
Yep, that's another one. The whole time be like, what happened?
And she's competitive too. You can see that, like, that Joe Moravsky stare that, like, I'm going to kill someone if I don't win this thing.
Yeah. I feel like every time I watch them, like, I'm freaking Obi-Wan Kenobi from Star Wars, and I'm like, you were supposed to be the one! Just breaking my heart.
Yeah, so that means we moved on to the Superhero Squad versus the Ballers. And the first run's Sean Darling Hammond versus Lorin Ball. And Lorin really stepped it up, I found.
Sean Darling, man, just sitting up on Lorin Ball's back, just chilling.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really weird. Like, they're banging into each other on the spikes.
I loved it. I wish I was more fisticuffs. if I was him, dude, I would, like, wrap my legs around Lorin Ball and be like, you're not going anywhere. Like, try to kick him off, maybe.
You wonder, like, how much contact they're allowed to have. It's got to be all incidental, I would assume, that they're not allowed to make any deliberate contact. But man, oh man,
well, I would accidentally wrap my legs around Lorin Ball and accidentally throw him into the water. That's what I would do.
Oops, did I do that? Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's unfortunate. All right, moving on. You know,
we can run again. Oh, he can't run. Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. I'm praying, man. One of these days, like, the light's gonna shine and it's gonna happen, and I will be so happy. I will be so happy of a person.
Lorin did end up winning this run. He really showed what he can do. I had a lot of faith in him. I'm glad to see he's able to come back and kind of show that he does have the speed when he really puts it down.
Yeah, Lorin Ball was low-key, like, on point this episode. He was actually doing very well. Like, in his first run, even though his competitor fell into the water very quickly, I mean, him going through, like, the other half of the course, he went through very quickly and without many hiccups. So he was definitely more focused this episode.
Yeah. I think he's getting the swing of it. And then we got to see a good matchup. We had Rachel versus Meiling. Meiling pulled well ahead, though. She was the first to the spikes, but she was struggling. And she did end up making it, though, and made it 5-0 for the Ballers today. Like, the Ballers were doing amazing.
Amazing. And the Ballers, I have to give my credit to, because they've been like surprising me every point of this entire season, and they should really, really be proud of themselves. They were amazing. Meiling Huang was definitely the MVP, like, for their team. And I must say, Meiling kind of made a name for herself even more so going up against Goldstein and part of the Fantastic Four. I mean, she held her own and beat her. You know, Meiling's really done well, and I really hope she really gets that stage presence and they give her that platform to shine this upcoming season. Yeah,
that'll be good to see for sure. I think there's no question she can hit the buzzer and join that elite crew. So we'll see. We'll see if the rest of the ANW fans get to appreciate her as much as the Team Ninja Warrior fans do. I can't stress enough how great Team Ninja Warrior is for getting a preview for the upcoming season. And those elite, especially the women, because we got so many women that we fully appreciated before we got to see them run the A&W course. Mm-hmm. Like Tiana Weberly was someone we looked forward to because we had seen what she could do last season. So I think Team Ninja Warrior is just a great showcase for some underappreciated talent.
Exactly. And not just the female, the men as well. Like case in point, Noel Reyes. I mean, whatever is things outside the show. I mean, this was a season where it really highlighted him and elevated his name. Next episode, I mean, I'm really looking forward to see Dan Pelosi again, you know. So there's definitely some names that have kind of been like mid-tier, but have really elevated big time with Team Ninja Warrior.
So it came down to the captain's run again. We have Jamie Rahn versus Paul Kasemir, and Jamie was ahead, but he ended up falling on the tiles. Then Paul fell right behind him, which was a little unexpected. And Jamie ended up winning the race, which forced a tiebreaker run. And here we are looking at the same situation again. It's like one team that's been dominating all day, one that's been struggling, and it comes down to one race. And it's Jamie, in this case, going up against Lorin Ball. And what were you thinking at this point?
I mean, I knew it. I mean,
did you really?
Jamie Rahn's really good when it comes to Team Ninja Warrior. I mean, I shouldn't say knew it, like that's too strong, but I had a very good feeling, I guess. And yeah, when it comes to this particular season, I mean, Jamie Rahn's really shown his prowess for kind of holding his team up on his shoulders, and that's too strong, also. But you know what I mean.
I do. At the same time, I was really doubtful that he was going to be able to pull it off in this case. I just thought there's no way we're going to have both of these teams move on to the finals. Like, there's no way. And then I was completely wrong because Lorin fell on the Ring of Fire.
Now, I will say this. I think Lorin Ball could have made it a much stronger. Like, if Lorin Ball were to get through that particular obstacle, I do think it would have been close. I don't think it would have been a blowout or anything.
No, I don't think so either. But unfortunately, didn't make it through. And that meant that the finale was going to be between the Superhero Squad and Wings.
What was their record going into this finale? This has got to be like the worst record of the two teams going into a relay.
So Superhero Squad went 3-5, and Wings went 2-5, and those were the two final teams running in the finale.
Oh boy,
that's a little brutal.
What a turd of a final relay. I mean, it's like...
And all the wins were by the team captains, too, just to rub it in a little more.
Yeah. Ooh. I don't know. I mean, it's cool and all. I kind of felt like the writing was on the wall also with the relay, though. But I've got to say, I was actually pretty impressed by the end of the final point of that. But go ahead and...
Yeah, so when they lined up, it was Melanie versus Rachel to kick it off, Sean versus Thomas in the middle, and David versus Jamie to finish it up.
Makes sense, but I really thought Jamie was much stronger than David with the upper body, but I was really impressed with David Yoder in this.
Yeah, there was no complaints about David for the most part.
You know what we can't complain about, though?
It's a really...
If there's one time to just be extra cautious if you need to be and not fall in that water, it is the relay.
Yeah, or if you're going to fall, fall quickly. I feel like it would have been better to fall early, and then, at least it would only be 10 seconds. I feel like it was an extra stack on there because they had already tagged at the point that Melanie fell, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, Melanie fell, and at that point, we've discussed many times, it's a huge deficit to get past that. I mean, that's almost a nail in the coffin, very close to it, and they just couldn't make it up.
I kind of wonder, though, because I wonder what the gap was between, how many extra seconds it was after the tag, because it was relatively close in the end. If she had just jumped in the water at the very beginning,
just swan dive,
just taken the 10-second penalty,
that would be the most hilarious thing. Not even go for it, just jump in the water.
Here's your 10-second penalty, just go. They might have made up that 10 seconds. I really feel like it was probably 15 that they were dealing with.
Yeah, and it all comes down to Thomas Stillings really made a huge comeback in terms of timing. He flew through his portion of the course, and David Yoder, I mean, all props to him. He really excelled when it came to the upper body obstacles at a time where he needed to. He did really exceptional.
Yeah, everybody else did pretty well. I mean, Rachel pulled ahead from the Ring of Fire, so tagged ahead of Melanie, who ended up hitting the water on the cargo net and failing out at that point. But at that point, Sean was already doing well, going through the course for the Superhero Squad. Thomas did make up some of that time, so that when Jamie was at the end of the Globe Graspers. David was on the beginning of them, so he kind of closed a good portion of that gap. Not quite enough, though. The rope climb at the end, where did that come from? Why was it a rope climb suddenly?
That was weird, right? I'm glad you like we haven't seen that all season, and I don't mind it really. I mean, it's whatever, but that was just really random. I'm like, it makes me wonder, like, if for the finals and everything, is that what we're gonna see in terms of the final obstacle rather than the invisible ladder?
I'm guessing it must be. It must be. Like, why? Like, just the random rope climb out of nowhere, which was good though. It was actually really interesting to watch. David was closing the gap, but Jamie did manage to pull it off and complete it. And Superhero Squad won the matchup.
Yeah, and we've been hard on both teams, but credit to where credit's due. Both teams did get to the relay. They did compete, and everybody was on game. I mean, they're all top ninjas, including Melanie Hunt. I mean, we were hard on her like a little bit, but. Everybody has tough days, and she was there for a reason. She's been on A&W 5 times for a reason, and today was just a really bad day for her. It was a bad look, but there's been various competitors that's the same thing. Like, we could just be just as hard as on her as Jon Alexis Jr. And I'm not sure how well her style works with Team Ninja Warrior, but we'll see. Like, time will tell.
When you think about it, though, it really would only take one obstacle. That Ring of Fire is brutal. And she didn't fall on it, did she? That I can think of?
No, she passed it. She fell on the cargo net.
Yeah. Like, I mean, not just in this case, but I think overall, the Ring of Fire really tripped her up. And I think she expended so much energy on it every time that it made everything else after it just impossible, right? She just completely wore herself down each time on that Ring of Fire. So
maybe it's just a case where she just didn't figure out how to get through that Ring of Fire like a lot of her peers have.
Yeah. The one like that was her kryptonite maybe. And because it's tough to get on American Ninja Warrior. It's not easy. Like, you need to demonstrate your skills, and for her to be back that many times, she must be really good. So I'd be really interested to see how she does this year.
Same. And I hope she makes a name for her, like, kind of relapses from this. Because this season hasn't been a good, like, I'm sure it's kind of hard for her to watch this, but I have to imagine there's a lot going on with that. I'm sure there's circumstances we didn't see, and more importantly than that, adaptability. As you said, she just couldn't adapt to figuring out how to get past that Ring of Fire without expelling so much energy.
So let's look at who's going to be on next week's matchups. We have Carson's Fast Cats, the Lab Rats, the Towers of Power, and the NorCal Ninjas. Some really strong teams there.
Ooh, yeah. Time for previewing or like guessing who's going to make it. I went first last time, so why don't you do your pick first?
Well, I actually, because we didn't know which teams are going to be on which episode, I made the pick of the Lab Rats, and I'm going to stick with it. I think the Lab Rats are the team to beat.
Lab Rats. I'm going to choose. I'm very high up on Lab Rats. I'm very high up on all the teams, really. I feel like Towers of Power can make it to the final relay, but as I've said before, I'm not sure about their odds of getting past the final obstacle. Interesting that now it's a rope climb. Maybe that'll change some things up. But my pick is going to be Carson's Fast Cats. What we saw in this episode was something we've been talking about for a while, where the team captain can really just carry their team on their shoulders, like in many ways. And Carson on their team is just so strong from what we saw. And I can't just overlook that. If he's able to be on point that like the same way he has previously in the season, he's going to take his team all the way to the relay and have a pretty good chance of getting atop that tower. So they're my pick. Carson's Fast Cats. Put in the bank.
So Carson's Fast Cats over, do you think Towers of Power in the finale?
I think so. I think that's what we're going to see. I could definitely see Lab Rats making it there, but Towers of Power are really good. Really, really good. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Towers of Power, and it could be whichever team against the Towers of Power. And I think Towers of Power is always going to be a team where they make it to the relay, and they can win. Don't get me wrong, guys, but I think they're going to have a much tougher time of winning.
Just like we predicted last week with who's going to be facing Le Breakfast Club in the finale. So we'll see how it works
Not
out.
the best record here, guys. Still, I got two of my teams in the finale, so I'm happy.
Yeah. It's been really tough. And the thing is, it's kind of a any given Sunday situation with the show. So it's really hard to predict the winners. It is kind of a toss-up. Because of the formatting, too, you can have some strange victories come and some team captains really pull through. So give us a break, man. We can't pick all the winners all the time.
Unless it's A&W, and then, my fantasy team will always win.
We'll see. I have a secret weapon this year. A genie.
The champ is here!
I was waiting for it.
You knew it was coming.
I did know that was coming.
So before we go, guys, I just want to talk a little bit about Spartan Team Ultimate Challenge. I mean, we saw previews of it during the special this past weekend and a little bit during Team Ninja Warrior. This show looks really fun. I'm really excited for it. It looks to be kind of a switch up where it's a mix between traditional Spartan racing and A&W, where it's much more based on obstacles, and they've got some pretty creative obstacles there. It's and in many ways, like Rich, it's kind of like Team Ninja Warrior, but if all of the team was on the course and trying to get through these really tough obstacles. Now, it could be a complete crapshoot. This show's either going to be really, really awful or pretty dang good. I don't know if there's going to be much middle ground, but I think the true key to whether the show survives or not is going to be if they can realize that their vignettes last season were absolutely atrocious and calm down on having 5 minutes or 10 minutes of storyline for all these teams. We'll see. But I'm once again, that hype meter is getting cautiously optimistic, man.
Well, the problem with their coverage last season, it wasn't. I mean, yeah, there was a little bit too much at times, but it was the timing. It's coming down to the final. They're racing towards the end. Who's gonna win? And here we have a mother of three running the course. Stop! Who's winning? What are you doing?
Oh, the memory. You just brought up some bad memories, yeah.
That's where they went wrong.
If they do that again, dude, part of me is just going to die inside. I really, really hope they fix it, but we'll see soon, guys. You're going to see me either be super ecstatic Ultimate Beastmaster style or losing my damn mind UK Ninja Warrior style. But either way, you're going to see some fireworks soon, guys.
Yeah, I think you're right. There won't be a middle ground. It's going to be one or the other. It's not going to be like, yeah, it's okay, it's all right. It's going to be like, this is the worst show ever. Why did we agree to cover this? Or they fixed it. It's finally good. The more
I think about it, though, I think it's going to be bad again.
I do too. I really don't have a lot of faith.
But you got to crush me like that, bro.
Maybe. We'll see.
We'll see.
So if you'd like to reach out to us, you can reach me as @Ninja Podcast on both Instagram and Twitter. I am Rich at ninjapodcast.com. And Bijan, how can they reach you?
Send your condolences next week for Spartan Race when it's awful at Bijan151. That's Bijan 151 on Twitter and Instagram.
All right. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a great week.
Peace, y'all! Way too excited.